you because we have some discussion going on in the latter part of this session. So it would be better that if we can see, who is speaking, yeah. But if it's not possible or feasible for you, it's also okay if you keep your video off. Okay. So I will start sharing my screen. Okay. So today's session is about nurturing future public interest lawyer. So Piona has been organizing a student competition in Hong Kong since 2017. So the student competition, we use the student competition as a way to engage law students and other university students to develop social change projects. They are given the opportunity to learn the skills, and then some of them, they will win a small grant, a seed grant to implement their projects as well. So today we would like to share the experience we had in Hong Kong and then explore the potential of making this competition as a regional one or even in other countries in Asia. So I will go through the rundown very quickly. So first we will have the icebreaker activities just to understand who is in the room with us, what is your background, and then we will have sharing from speakers. We will have Annie Lee from Pionet, who is my coworker, and then we have Jamie Wong from Access to Justice Fellowship, and Angel Lau from Homecoming. They were the winners of our past student competition. And we also have Tony Lim from the Law Society of Pro Bono Services, and then Helena Wallenbridge from the National University of Singapore will lead the discussion with us. Okay. So we can go into the icebreaker. May I ask the Secretariat to pull up the poll for us? Yes. So we have the first question is about your sector. Can you choose a sector that best represents you below? There are academia, bar association, corporation, law firm, or NGO, or law students. We want to know who we are speaking with. Okay. Do you need more time? We have like less than 50% voted. Maybe we need a little bit more time for the interpretation. Okay, 5 more seconds. This is your last chance. Okay, can you see the result? Okay, yeah. I see that the majority here are like law students, and then we have like a quite equal distribution of people from NGOs, law firms, and yeah, and one person from academia. I think I know who that is, yeah. Okay, and then for the second part, we would like to ask you about your country of residence. You can go to the link display on the PowerPoint here. You can go to menti.com and then use the code. I'll share the link in the chat box. Maybe that's easy. Can you see the link? we see results are coming in. Okay, so we can see that we have people from Hong Kong, Bangladesh, Laos, Myanmar, and Singapore. Okay, we have one final question for you. That is, you can use the same link, and then please write down the 3 causes that you wanted to contribute when you were a student. If you are a student, you can write down the 3 causes that you want to contribute right now or recently. Can you see it from your voting page? Yes, okay. Maybe you need more time to put down the causes. We want to know this, it's because when we are organizing the student competition, sometimes we have a theme. And in the past, we had equality and other kinds of access to justice issue, or like refugee rights or family rights. We just want to know, what kind of topics people are interested in our session. So we see refugee rights, access to justice, worker safety, civil liberties, discrimination, and human rights. Okay, we have more submission, and there are like gender equality issue. And some people are like more general that they just want to, help the grassroots people. Yeah. And some just want to do, pro bono as a paralegal or volunteer in social work. And then there are other causes like animal rights, maybe just animals, and racial equality as well. And there's environmental conservation. Okay, that's good. Okay, that really helps us to, understand what kind of causes our audience are interested in. Okay, we have like more answer coming in. Okay. I think that's all for the icebreaker. I think I won't waste, the time of yours. Maybe you want to just, listen to the sharing and then, dive into the discussion more. So the next presenter will be my coworker, Annie Lee. She's the project coordinator for our student competition at Piona. So I'll hand over, the time to Annie, please.
Thank you, Isabel. Thanks everyone for participating in the little games. It's really informative and helpful. So now I'll share screen. Okay, can you see my slide? Thanks. So I will start introducing a little bit about the competition in Hong Kong, just so you have an idea and a reference point for discussion later on. It doesn't have to be the same as the model here in Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, we have started a Law for Change student competition since 2017. The 5th cycle is now in progress. In the competition, the students who are university students, most of them are law students, conceive, develop, and implement their own projects to promote social change using the law. So far, we have had close to 300 participants from 6 universities in Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, there are 3 law schools plus 1 law school from the UK. So obviously, some of them are not law students here. And then so far, we have had 11 projects developed. So this is a group photo of our competition. And in terms of the kind of support offered to the students, firstly, they have seed grants. In the past, they had about 50,000 Hong Kong dollars for the implementation, which is about 6,000, 7,000 US dollars. And then this year we have divided it into a prototyping phase and an implementation phase. For the prototyping phase, they have 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is about 12,000 US dollars for the prototype. And then they will have another seed grant for implementation if they do get to that phase. And we arrange mentors for them. Mentors are mostly lawyers, but some of them are non-lawyers to give them more interdisciplinary guidance. And also, for example, some of the non-law mentors are experienced in founding startups and incubation. And the students have partnership opportunities with NGOs and social enterprises. In fact, this year it is a requirement of them to find an NGO or social enterprise to be a partner. This is to help the students work with the social sector in Hong Kong and also to increase the sustainability of their projects. And they have the opportunity to consult with Piona and other experts on their projects as a group or one-on-one. And we also offer them marketing support. So let me give you some ideas of the winning projects in the past. So the last cycle, the winner worked on a project to support homeless people to get out of homelessness. You'll hear more about this from Angel Lau from the team very soon. They have successfully helped one homeless person get out of homelessness, which is really encouraging. And the runner-up trained students in mediation and to offer support to small stores during the COVID-19 pandemic. The winner of 2019 Access to Justice Fellowship, which you'll also hear from later on, tried to build the legal capacity of an NGO by placing law graduates as fellows in the NGO to work for 10 months. And others have raised public awareness about LGBTI rights, occupational injury compensation, willmaking, etc., etc. And the first cycle of the competition was in 2017. So obviously some of the participants have graduated or they have gone into the professional certificate training. And they have passed their projects to new cohorts of students, which is really encouraging to us because the projects have been sustained. So 4 projects have been continued by new cohorts of students, and 2 of them have actually, they are now in the hands of the second cohort of successors. So the original students are now like the grandparents of the projects. And the first winning project has already impacted on the current participants because we have observed that this year, some participants, they already know a lot about, for example, how legal clinics are run in Hong Kong is because they have helped the first year's winner to implement the winning project. So I'd like to show you some photos of our students running their projects. The one on the left is the runner-up of 2020, reaching out to restaurants in Hong Kong to offer support in mediation during the pandemic. And then the one on the right was the inaugural winner. They are delivering a talk for the elderly in Hong Kong. So now let me get to why Piona organizes this competition. We hope to nurture the next generation of public interest and pro bono lawyers in Hong Kong. We have observed that in Hong Kong, experiential learning is a bit lacking in the law schools. There are some clinics, but not a lot, and they are quite new. So our alumni will talk more about this later, but they have observed that the law that you learn in school can be different from the law in application. So we hope to give them some opportunities to apply their knowledge. And we hope that with this experience, the knowledge about the role of law in serving society and how NGOs operate will increase. They will be more skillful in developing projects. For example, more able to be team players, to communicate with each other, to implement a project. And we also train them on things like monitoring, evaluation, budgeting, fundraising, etc. And we hope that with the experience, they will also, in terms of attitude, be more likely to engage in public interest lawyering and pro bono in future. Although the students are the primary beneficiaries of our project, of the competition, we also hope that the mentors and NGOs who participate in the competition as partners will change. For example, we hope that mentors will feel a stronger sense of responsibility to connect with students, to encourage them to do pro bono work, and the NGOs will be more willing to give opportunities to law students. So that's my presentation. It's really just a short one to give you a taste of our competition. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat box. If not, I'll first invite our winner from 2020, Angel Lau from Homecoming, to share her experience. So Angel is a BBA law student at the University of Hong Kong, and together with 4 other students from the University of Hong Kong, they have started a project to help the homeless people. And yeah, I'll just like Angel share her experience.
Thank you very much, Annie, for your sharing and overview. Hello, this is Angel. I'm now a final year business administration and law double degree student at the University of Hong Kong. And I was one of the co-founders of the pro bono legal project Homecoming. And I'm very pleased to be able to be here to share with you all about our project. Let me now share screen of our PowerPoint with you. So my project was co-founded by me and 4 of my law classmates, who are all now in our final years. And at the beginning, when we joined the competition, we would like to explore more about public interest law, and how we can impact the society with the skills and knowledge that we have learned over our 3 years of legal study and training. So we thought that the Pilot competition would be a great opportunity for us to try to apply our knowledge and to implement a project that would be beneficial to the society. And we didn't expect that our project would have come this far. And we are very grateful to Pilnet for this opportunity, with its seed grant and also further support for us to unleash our skills and potential to create something that can make a difference to the society and actualize our vision. We started to think about our project back in 2020 when COVID-19 just broke out, and resilience was the theme of the 2020 competition at that time. So what came to our mind was the news about homeless people in Hong Kong struggling to fight against the pandemic environment. For example, fast food restaurants like McDonald's were closed in the nighttime, so the homeless people had nowhere to stay at night but the street. During this critical public health crisis, public bathrooms were shut down, and the homeless, ironically, did not have access to places to clean themselves. So we feel that they are the neglected group in the society who deserved our urgent attention and support. So we decided to target at the homeless as our service group and see what we as law students can help them. To be able to cater to the needs of the homeless, we have to first understand them. So we conducted visits to reach out to the homeless across different districts in Hong Kong. For example, in Shan Shui Po, Yau Ma Tei, Wan Chai. And while there were challenges and setbacks at time, for example, when we chatted with some homeless, some of them were guarded and were not willing to open up to us. But we were happy that with our repeated visits with them, as well as with some charities who also often visited the homeless there, and we distributed food and also hygiene items, for example, masks to them. We started to gain their trust, and we were able to chat with them personally and to hear their life stories and difficulties. Eventually, we were able to identify some social service gaps and designed our pro bono service project. So one major target of our pro bono project is to offer them a storage service, free storage service, because the homeless people in Hong Kong, they have very scarce personal belongings, and their personal belongings are sometimes confiscated by the street cleaners or the government, or stolen by one another. So they do not have a safe place to store their personal belongings, and some of them are reluctant to go elsewhere and usually just stay with their belongings to make sure that they will not be lost anymore. So this hinders many homeless of their opportunity to find a job or to do more self-learning to be able to have the chance to get out of homelessness. So one aspect of our project is to partner with a storage company nearby and to offer them storage service. And eventually, during our implementation, we reached out to some NGOs and charities in Hong Kong who were very kind to help, to agree to cooperate with us. For example, there were St. James Settlement, Society for Community Organization, and Sunshine Action. Chatting with these representatives from the NGOs allow us to gain a perspective of another major sector that has been helping this group of marginalized group. And we would understand more about how we can approach the homeless and the need of the homeless people from these NGOs' perspectives, which are really experienced in assisting this kind of people. And we were also very grateful for the mentors that's assigned by PILNET, as introduced by representatives of PILNET just now. We have 4 mentors from law firms and also business corporations, which are extremely supportive along since our preparation stages. There are law professionals who can inspire us on how we can use our professional legal knowledge and at the same time balance private practice with pro bono work. So they're really inspiring and encouraging in supporting our project and giving us guidance from their experience to let us know how we can apply our knowledge, legal knowledge better and legal skills better in implementing this kind of social projects. So our project can be divided into 3 phases. Apart from the major aspect of offering a storage service scheme for the homeless people that I mentioned just now, we also have a phase which is to distribute leaflets on legal and social rights and benefits that the homeless enjoy. Because some homeless people that we visited and chatted with, we realized that they do not know what available legal and social rights that they have, or how they can access to the available social benefits that they have. For example, they can actually connect with social workers from NGOs who can offer them job opportunities. And there are also temporary settlements by the government, which can offer them temporary shelter so they do not have to sleep in the streets. So we would promote this kind of rights and benefits to homeless people and connects them with social workers and pro bono lawyers to solve their legal needs, as well as to offer them social support. And phase 3 of our project is to promote more awareness of the plight of homelessness in Hong Kong by open up social media accounts on Instagram. So we target at young people like us and promote different life stories of homeless people that we visited. For example, there was one very memorable story that we shared on our social media, and which also received feedback from our audience, which is there was one homeless person who was actually educated and was a reporter before, but he lost his job because his company went insolvent, and he's now very old and almost retired. So he's not able to find new jobs, and he could only rely on his personal savings, which would not be enough to cater for the high rent in Hong Kong. So in the end, he ended up, he originally was living in subdivided flat, but he was not able to afford it anymore because of the rent increase, and ended up in the street. So these are really, this is a really motivating and a major story of one homeless that we interviewed, because in society, there is usually stigma and stereotype that homeless people may be lazy or maybe they're drug addicts. But in fact, there are homeless people who are still trying hard to rely on their personal savings and try to find a job themselves. For example, the homeless that I mentioned, he still keep on trying to publish articles and send them to publishers to earn some little money. And he would go to the library during the free time to read and write. So these are these stories really touch us, and to let us know that there are many homeless out there with their personal difficulties, and we should not stereotype them with what we've known from secondary sources. Because some of the co-founders, including me, before founding this project, we may also have some stereotype on homeless people. For example, we may think that they just do not want to find a job and use their if they're not educated, they can still go to do physical labor to earn a living and do not have to live in the streets, because there are so many opportunities in Hong Kong, which seems to be a very developed city. But in fact, most of the homeless that we visited, they tried to find a job and they were in employment before. But many of them are now physically incapable because they, for example, one homeless that I chatted with, he was a lifeguard at swimming pool and beaches before, but he hurt his spinal cord in one incident, and he was not very educated. So he's now not able to find another job, and now ended up in the street. So there are many people who are in need, and we should not identify this group of people as a class with stereotype, but to really reach out to them and try to understand them. So the social media promotion scheme that our project is working on is to spread this kind of life stories of these homeless people, to make more people understand that they are the people who also deserve our attention and empathy and help. As we implement our project, we have been facing different challenges. And facing these challenges made us understand the difficulties of different sectors in society in assisting and integrating these marginal groups. And overcoming these challenges further honed our problem-solving ability and determination in reaching our goal to help the homeless. For example, in our phase 1, which aims at providing safe property storage for the homeless, one challenge is communication with the homeless. Because the homeless are from different education backgrounds, and some of them may have mental issues. So not all homeless were willing to open up to us, and we were not able to understand them fully at the beginning. And so we cannot truly cater to their needs. So it really takes time and patience to reach out and chat with the homeless, to make them feel that we're not from a condescending position in helping them, but we are truly trying to understand them and build a connection with them to help them and to hopefully get them out of homelessness. So we were glad that in the end, after several visits, we were able to build a recognition among the homeless community. And we felt so happy one time when we visited the group of homelessness in Victoria Park. One homeless was shouting to other homeless people that, oh, the batch of Hong Kong U students are coming again. Do you know who they are? They're law students at Hong Kong U. They're here to help us. So we feel really happy to be able to connect with them and understand their needs so that we can truly cater to what they want, instead of to think from our perspective or our perception of what they might need. So it is, so this prompts us in how we can achieve design thinking and to design solutions that truly cater to the needs. And another difficulty, which is some practical difficulties, which is when we rent a locker, we would need to provide an address to the locker company. But the homeless people, they do not have an address. So we were really glad that after reaching out to many NGOs, there was a major NGO in Hong Kong which was willing to offer us their organization's address to help the homeless to rent the lockers in the company. And during our storage surface work, we have also faced a major challenge, which is that we received a complaint from the storage company that they suspected a homeless was have been staying at a storage company overnight. And we understand that serving this group of homeless people who may have different needs and difficulties, there would be this kind of challenges where they may not oblige to the rules of companies. So we were glad that after repeatedly communicate with that homeless, he's able to understand our difficulty and understand that because we told them that there are also other homeless who are using the service with you, and we'd hope that you could follow the rules so that all homeless people who are using the service can continue the service and to respect one another who are using the service. So we are glad that although we had to suspend his locker storage service in that company to avoid a bad impression created to that company, in the end, we were able to find a quick alternative solution, which is to arrange his service with another block of the locker company so that we are able to continue our service. And eventually, until now, we have been receiving very positive feedback from the homeless on this storage service scheme. Because some homeless gave comments on how this locker service closed the social service gap, because having a place to store our personal belongings may seem like a really small thing that people may not pay attention to, but it means something big to the homeless people who do not have a safe place to store their personal belongings. And at the same time, they actually do not already have much personal belongings, which can be of really great, not just physical, but also emotional value to them. So we are really glad that our service, our storage service is able to close this social service gap. And the homeless also said that they do not need to worry about their belongings being taken away by government or street cleaners, so that they can do what they want to do during the daytime. For example, they can go to the public library to read, and they can also go find more friends and also go do job interviews. Another major aspect of our projects is to raise public awareness on social media. We share in bilingual English and Chinese about our service targets' feedback and also their personal stories, as well as the homeless-related policies of different jurisdictions to raise public awareness, and also to raise public awareness on some space or potential improvements of the Hong Kong's homeless-related policies. For example, we compared the Taiwan and Finland policy and found that Taiwan, for example, they have a storage service scheme, official and more large-scale one, which can be accessible by the homeless people in Taiwan. And we were trying to promote it so that maybe in the future we are able to campaign for bigger changes from the policy level in Hong Kong to be able to make systemic change to the plight of homelessness in Hong Kong. So a brief overview of what we've achieved so far. Since the commencement of our free storage scheme, we have served over 20 homeless residing in the Victoria Park district and offered them social support as well as storage service. And we have recently helped one homeless person to get out of homelessness. So it is really motivating to us because we are really able to make an impact, not just on the temporary circumstances of our service target, but also on the long-term future of their living quality. That homeless person told us that being able to have access to this storage service, he's able to go do more job interviews and job hunting during the daytime instead of staying with his property all the time and make sure that they're not stolen. So eventually he found a job as a guard, and he now has enough money to rent a small flat and get out of homelessness. And he's also helping us to promote this storage service scheme to his other homeless friends and hope that more homeless people are able to receive such service and hopefully have a bigger change in their life. And this project also has substantive impacts on us as co-founders. For example, first, we have learned to develop more empathy. Developing empathy is not the same as just sympathy, because chatting with the homeless and really connecting with them in person, we are able to understand them more from their perspectives instead of just understand them and feeling sorry for them from the news or stories that we've seen online. So chatting with them really developed a personal bond for us to think from their perspective and try to understand what they want and to help them to get out of the plight that they have. Another major skill that we gained is communication skills. Communicating with the homeless, for example, requires us to build trust with them. And we also need to be careful not to ask potentially offensive questions because each homeless person has very difficult life story that they may not be comfortable sharing about. But at the same time, we need to ask enough follow-up questions to understand what their true needs are. And we also needed to communicate with many NGO representatives, as well as lawyers from renowned law firms to implement our projects. So this further honed our professional communication skills. For example, how to put our project and communicate in succinct and professional terms so that we can persuade these NGOs or lawyers to cooperate with us and help us actualize this vision. And the third thing that we learned is persistence. First, as students, we need to balance our academics as well as this pro bono project. So we need to be persistent to be able to overcome all the challenges so that we are able to achieve what we want. We also need to be persistent when some homeless may not be as open to us. We need to reach out more to them and be patient to them so that eventually we are able to actualize what we want and achieve our goals. And we need to also communicate well and cooperate well with one another, each other co-founders, so that we are able to support each other in launching this project and making a success. And the fourth important thing that we gain from this project is that we are motivated to integrate charity in our future career as well. We do not hope. At the beginning, we thought that we just as students may not have much power to make a difference to the community. But after joining this competition with Pillnet, we understand that we, even as students, are able to make a difference to the community. So this really motivates us to continue to use our skills and knowledge to do something and actualize the visions that we have in our mind into reality. And we believe when we become future lawyers, we would be able to leverage more resources and capital to make even bigger changes by cooperating with NGOs or offering pro bono advice to the people in need, and to become a role model in our industry to make a difference. So this is a really meaningful project that changed us a lot and let us understand how much we can do as long as we really put our mind and effort in it. So we are very grateful for PILNet once again, which organized this competition to make us believe in the impossibles. And it would be wonderful if more of this kind of competitions and opportunities can be held regionally and locally, so that more students would have similar opportunity as us to really actualize their vision and make a difference to society. Because students may have more opportunities to cater to some niche areas in the society, which major NGOs or government may not have the time or resources to pay attention to. So this kind of projects really teach us to not to just learn the law as theories, which is what we do in class, but also apply the law in practice and make a difference to the community. So thank you very much for listening. And
thank you, Angel. It's so fascinating and encouraging to know the impact that your team has made and that it has changed you as well. So next, I'd like to invite, I know that Angel has a class to go to, so she may leave the call a bit earlier. So next, I'd like to invite Jamie Wong from Access to Justice Fellowship, the winner of our competition in 2019. Jamie was an LLB student at HKU as well. So she has graduated and now working at an NGO. So Jamie will talk about her experience in our competition. Jamie, please.
Thank you, Annie. I'm also going to share my presentation. Yeah, are you able to see it? Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Jamie. As Annie mentioned, I am part of the Access to Justice Fellowship. We were the winners of the 2019 competition, and we're really excited to share a bit about our project today. So before I kind of go into the rest of the presentation, I think I'll talk a bit about why my team members and I joined the competition, and then talk you through kind of some of our key achievements from the first year of running this program. And then we'll kind of wrap up with some key takeaways that we had from joining this competition back in 2019. So the theme of our year's competition was sustainability, which I think our first thought was, oh, it's about like climate justice and climate change. But then we started thinking a bit more broad about what we had observed during our time in law school and how we can make legal initiatives a bit more sustainable. I think what we were seeing is that there's a lot of initiatives that are a bit one-off. So for example, there might be some workshops where you kind of join once, there's a bit of a discussion there, and there might not be some follow-ups, or other initiatives like, I think just like an exchange at some kind of meetup where people are able to ask questions, but not really kind of a long-term sustainable impact on either the service targets or NGOs. So what we wanted to do was to really make sure that our initiative was something that isn't just a one-off initiative. It's something that maybe further years down the line, even once we step away from the project, it can continue to have ripple impacts on the community. So one of the reasons why we joined this competition, I think we were in our final year of law school. We were doing our certificate for to qualify as lawyers in Hong Kong. And then we saw a poster in the law faculty and we were like, this is really interesting. We don't really have a lot of opportunities to kind of get our hands dirty during our time in university. So I think, as both Isabel and Annie mentioned, there are not too many experiential learning opportunities in the Hong Kong universities, or even if there are, there might be on very specific or niche topics. And so we thought this was a really good opportunity to really take what we've learned in class and to kind of have that support of an organization, of the resources and the network to actually put these projects, to kind of actually implement these projects. So I will go into a bit of background just to explain the context behind why we had this idea, and then tell you a bit more about what the idea is. What we saw is that in Hong Kong, there's a lot of NGOs that provide kind of frontline services to service targets. But at the same time, a lot of these service targets might have legal needs. So for example, in an employment situation, if my employer isn't giving me money, I would need to find a lawyer to help me sue the employer. As a grassroots worker, let's say if I was a street cleaner, if I was working in a supermarket as a sales promoter, I might not necessarily know where to find a lawyer. I don't have the resources to go to one. So I would go to my community and maybe try and find a social worker to see if they can link me up with some assistance. But at the same time, we also found that these NGOs are very overburdened. There's a lot of people that walk in every day with different questions, but at the same time, they might not be necessarily equipped with the experience or the legal knowledge to be able to assist very effectively. What this means is that in practice, a lot of workers might be able to get, I think, moral support, psychosocial support from these NGOs. But when it comes to actually filing their claims, they're really just left on their own, and they are up against, really resourceful employers in an employment context. And these big corporations might have lawyers. They would have, a huge team behind them to be able to fight against these claims. And then at the same time, we also saw that there were a lot of existing service gaps. So although there are free or aided legal services in Hong Kong, none of them really target employment law. So let's say in the Hong Kong, we have a labor tribunal, but you're not allowed to have lawyers represent you there, which also means that you don't get to have legal aid. So there really is a big gap there where if I am a grassroots worker, I'm earning minimum wage, I really don't know anything about the law. I don't know anything about how to file my claim. I have to go there on my own, and I wouldn't be able to take time off work. I wouldn't be able to even know what arguments to make. So that's where we saw this huge gap in the community, and that's how we wanted to build a project to solve this. So we started thinking about what kind of stakeholders might be involved in this situation. So there's grassroots workers who might go to their community partners for example, with us, we were working in two of the most poor districts in Hong Kong, in Kwun Tong and Tsuen Wan. So there's a lot of NGOs there that kind of take in a lot of walk-in clients. And these are also unions that have a lot of a strong base with the community and provide a lot of that frontline service. We also noticed that these grassroots workers might approach these NGOs and unions, but don't really know where to kind of find legal support on their own, either because they really just, some of them might be new immigrants to Hong Kong. They don't really know the legal scene here. Another situation might be they're a bit too intimidated to speak to lawyers. If you go into a fancy law firm in one of the central business districts here in Hong Kong, it can be very intimidating for a grassroots worker. And so even if they do know where to go find help, there's always kind of that mental barrier as well about how can I actually go about doing this? How do I speak to a lawyer? Do I have to dress in a suit? I think a lot of these barriers are quite disempowering for grassroots workers as well. So that's why we wanted to bring all of these stakeholders together. And that's where we identified law students or law graduates playing a really unique role in this. So law students have a lot of energy, I think, outside of reading their legal articles and legal papers and cases. And they also really want to serve the community. So we thought that we could have law graduates who have an interest in doing public interest law come join us for a 10-month program as a legal fellow. where they'll effectively be seconded in an NGO and carry out legal capacity building projects. I think this is the first opportunity in Hong Kong that really targets this specifically. And so we really wanted to be the ones to create this opportunity for people who might not want to go into corporate law, who want to go into an NGO, but haven't necessarily had that experience, and to kind of make sure that law students kind of have that exposure and the opportunity to do more social justice work. So these are some of the objectives that we that we were targeting for our program. We wanted to be able to provide free and timely one-stop legal support to both NGOs as well as the service targets. We also wanted to increase NGOs' capacities to meet these needs. So what we were seeing is that NGOs have a lot of social work background, a lot of practical experience, but sometimes we do need to complement that with kind of a more formal understanding of how the law works, what the procedures are, and so on. So we thought that having a law graduate seconded in that NGO, by working together more closely, there would be a lot of mutual learning between the two, as well as some more subtle things, like, for example, how can I have a case file? What types of information do I need to collect from clients? I think these are kind of the types of training that we were envisioning our fellow could provide. And then finally, we also wanted to increase awareness about access to justice. So we really wanted to make sure that our service targets as well as NGOs kind of have that awareness of these are rights that all workers should have and should be able to get some compensation for if they are aggrieved by employers. So this is a pretty wordy slide, so I'll just go through some of the highlights. One of our key initiatives for the first fellowship program was a legal clinic that we organized at our partnering organization, which is the Hong Kong Women Workers Association. And during our first year of the program, it ran from September to June, but we really spent the first months kind of prepping for the year. So between October and June, we organized 12 legal clinics where we were able to provide legal advice on issues such as pregnancy discrimination, termination entitlements, as well as a worker who was terminated because she had gotten COVID and couldn't go to work. And in that process, we were able to match our clients to lawyers from international law firms who were able to give advice on their employment claims or any discrimination claims. Apart from these 12 clients that we assisted, we also screened over 30 workers who kind of were either walk-in clients or who would call the NGO. We would do an initial case consultation with them and also identify some of the legal issues that may or may not be able to proceed to a legal consultation. And I think we are really proud of the impact. So as you can see in the orange bubbles in the bottom left corner, we also thought that apart from having these really tangible results of doing the legal clinic, the theme was sustainability, right? So we wanted to make sure that our clients were also feeling empowered at the end of the session. So apart from really getting that advice and being able to take that forward, how did they feel about our service? And also how empowered did they feel in being able to continue their claims, and how they can also impact the community that they're working with. So as you can see, our satisfaction rate was almost perfect. It was a 4.96. And then we also were able to improve our clients' confidence by 20%. And then apart from working with the community directly, we also thought that we wanted to bridge the gap between the NGO and the legal sector. So what we did was we worked very closely with law firms and barristers in Hong Kong who were able to provide pro bono legal advice and also to provide training to both the NGOs as well as the service targets. We also wanted to speak to law students, and being quite fresh graduates ourselves, we thought that young law students are increasingly more interested in social justice and human rights issues. So we collaborated with the Human Rights and Practice course at HKU, where the University of Hong Kong, where 10 students split into 4 groups and did some legal research and capacity building projects. We also did a research paper, which we presented at a UC Berkeley Equality Law Conference earlier this year. So based on some of the issues that we observed on the ground, we found out that there was a pretty pressing issue that hadn't been solved for at least 10 to 20 years. And so the NGO was really quite bothered by that and really wanted to do some legal research. So based on what we saw on the ground, we were able to provide some recommendations on how to actually address this issue. We also conducted interviews with their service targets, which we included in that paper as well to add more credibility. So just in terms of numbers, at the very right hand side, we see something called the SROI, which is our social impact measurement. And so we were able to calculate that for every $1 invested in this program, we were able to generate, I'm covering that, $4.77 of social impact and that social value. So we're really proud of this result as well, considering that it's our first year running this program. I will move on to this next slide. This is a quote that we got from the executive director of our partnering organization. She was really happy with the projects that we implemented with them. For example, she would say that some of the main benefits that were brought to the organization is that we provided a legal clinic service, and we also had law students go to the NGO and do outreach activities with them. So they were able to build more connections with law students and also have that cross-sector exchange where law students were able to learn about grassroots issues as well. On the other hand, we also spoke to Miss F, who was one of our clients that we supported through her labor tribunal trial. We did 3 legal clinic sessions with her, where she was able to speak directly with an employment lawyer who advised on her claim and also how to conduct herself during the court hearing. So she said that having the opportunity to meet a lawyer really boosted her confidence. And some of the materials that we helped her prepare for the court hearing also helped her calm her nerves so that she could speak more clearly and fluently. And it really is something just as simple as knowing that you have to bow when the presiding officer walks into the courtroom, how to address the presiding officer, that you have to stand up and speak, what you can say. I think it's really just this, even public speaking training was something that was very valuable for the client. And here are some snippets of our publicity. We are very happy that we also caught the attention of some local media as well, which invited us to participate in a radio show and do an interview for different articles, and also joined a television program that talked about social innovation projects. So I think on behalf of the team, we're really proud that we have the opportunity to share what we're doing to the wider public as well, and not to keep law and legal projects kind of very isolated as we usually observe. And then finally, I'll just spend a bit of time talking about some of our key takeaways from joining this competition. I noticed now that some of these points are actually quite similar to what Annie had prepared in her PowerPoint, but we really enjoyed the opportunity to have legal mentors matched to our team. We were matched to a team of, I think, 3 to 4 lawyers from a law firm who met with us every 1 to 2 weeks to go through our materials together. They provided a lot of valuable insight and also helped us practice our pitching skills. So we had, I think it was a 7 or 10 minute pitch for the competition, and they were kind of very strict with us and helped us practice our Q&A as well, so that we felt really prepared by the time we had to join the competition. They also provided us with kind of a network of lawyers that we could speak to and ask questions during our preparing for the pitch and the competition. The second most important takeaway was really the seed funding. So as Annie mentioned, we were able to receive $50,000 Hong Kong dollars to implement the project. That's around $6,000 to $7,000 US. It's not a small amount, it's not a big amount, but for a student competition, for a group of undergrad students who kind of don't have any experience in running any initiative and running a company and doing all sorts of things, it's generally quite difficult for us to fundraise this amount of money. So with the seed grant, it's kind of a vote of confidence that we're able to do this, and also an opportunity for us to put our proposal into action, because this money was really really the first thing that was able to let us start this and to go around telling people that, hey, we're supported by Philnet, we're supported by the Wing Foundation. We have this legitimacy now. Can you please support our project as well? And then finally, we were also really grateful for the hands-on training that was provided, as well as the workshops during this entire process. So for example, there were some workshops on how to fine-tune our proposals, so how to write good objectives and aims. We also had a workshop on social impact measurement and how to talk about the impacts of our project and how to also measure this impact and the sustainability of it. And I think just overall, the opportunity to actually do this ourselves, the hands-on training was very valuable and really helped us practice a lot of practical skills that I think law students generally don't necessarily have opportunities to do. And so with that, this is the end of my presentation, and also happy to take questions in the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. So I'm pasting our website in the chat, and Jamie, please feel free to put in information about your project. So we were overrunning a bit. So next, we are very delighted to have Tanguy Lim, CEO of Law Society Pro Bono Service of Singapore, to share about from his vast experience of working with students on pro bono projects and also the potential of holding this kind of competition in Singapore. Tanguy, please.
Thanks, Jenny. Can you hear me okay? Great. Sorry, guys, I'm taking this call outside as well because it's actually for actually work engagement. We're actually just filming a series of stories on pro bono. Oops, I took the cord. Okay, I think I have to take it outside because we're filming at the moment. 1 second. Yeah, just apologies. So we're actually doing a series on pro bono stories as well, and I have to be on the film set, so I've got to be a bit quiet as well too. But just some quick background. So I'm from the Singapore Bar Association's charity, and we basically were set up to get our lawyers in Singapore to involved in pro bono work, many different forms as well. And we work extensively with law students to support all our programs. Of course, the limitations, because law students not yet being qualified can't give direct advice as well. But our experience has been extremely positive in terms of engaging them, supporting our various schemes. So one of the things which I was very impressed by Angel's and Jamie's presentations was, they've really very much highlighted the benefits of being involved in these type of projects. So the thing about competitions, it brings a certain amount of additional focus by the law students. So typically for our usual attachments, the students are very much coming for legal clinics or our representation schemes as well. And basically they're helping to assist, with various elements of the work itself. But when you have a competition, it's a very different dynamic because there's specific focus, there's a real search for gaps in terms of legal aid or legal help. And this is where the students can bring fresh perspective, be it working with NGOs or being working with other partners on the ground outside of the law to see how to give holistic support. What came out very strongly from both presentations was that it was not just confined to a legal solution. And what came across very strongly was the importance of actually partnering with relevant other stakeholders to give holistic help as well. When you have a competition, it's a case where there are a lot of benefits. You have the ability of peer-to-peer engagement. You see what other students are coming up with as well. And it's something which really helps to also highlight gaps in terms of legal support. Maybe one thing which I'd just like to say, just generally speaking, which we may want to consider for competitions down the road, is this idea of not just looking at the law students yourselves doing being the sole members of the team, but working with some of your fellow students in other faculties. So we've had a few examples like this in Singapore just relatively recently. We have quite a large migrant worker population, and they actually require legal assistance as well. And there was one competition where you had law students together with students from the IT faculties, a kind of tech hackathon, where they were looking at using tech to efficiently deliver legal information and awareness to American workers as well. And this is something which is, I would definitely encourage, a few competitions to look at, because the whole idea is to be very effective in terms of helping. You have to have this dimension of collective impact. Law in real life is not siloed. Very often legal issues are just the tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more power and traction when you start to look at things more holistically. I was very impressed with the project on the homeless, how they looked at the basic need for storage as well too. And then they partnered with the organization to give a home address, as well as storage companies that were willing to help out as well. So in challenges in terms of working with law students, frankly, has been very positive for us. We've always found it very, very interesting to get fresh minds coming in. Although we haven't run competitions, we always welcome feedback from the law students in terms of how we can improve processes, or even areas where they may be wondering, is there help available as well? So I just round off, absolutely, I think there's a lot of potential for competitions around the region, because very often, if you think about it, whether it's happening in Hong Kong, in the Philippines, in Singapore, Malaysia, Bangkok, certain types of legal issues, unfortunately, are quite common and widespread. And there's a lot of, how can I say, a benefit in just seeing where the similarities, but also where innovation, which maybe one country may not have thought about, may come to cross-pollinate in other jurisdictions. So with that, maybe I'll just stop my sharing. Thanks.
Thanks, thank you. It's very short but very concise and insightful. So I'll pass the time now to Helena from the Faculty of Law, National University of Singapore, and she'll moderate a discussion session. Helena, please.
Thanks so much, Annie. Thanks to all the speakers for fantastic background and introduction to the possibilities that this kind of competition can bring about. Okay, so I understand that we need to end in about 20 minutes. And what we really want to do in the last portion here is to hear from all the participants about your ideas about this kind of competition. So I'll just go to screen share briefly. And I'm going to assume that people can see my screen. All right. So the goal, as you've seen from different speakers, is to nurture and support lawyers doing public interest work. And of course, achieving this goal has many different parts. That includes an educational curriculum with substantive law, legal method, and ethics and values. But one method, and I think it's an excellent one, is the one being kind of mooted today. And again, we really want to hear from participants about what you think about this. Of course, any kind of competition will pit student knowledge and abilities against each other, and it can kind of have an energizing effect. And I've seen this just even in the classroom when you kind of have little groups compete against each other. And an example that I think we're almost all of us are familiar with is mooting. But a less common but very well supported example, I think, has been described today, which is a public interest student competition. And there's a couple of important parts to that. If you're not so familiar, I think it has been very well described. But essentially, students submit a proposal for a public interest project. They get feedback from lawyers and experts. In response to that feedback, there's revision and improvement. And then the successful project or projects receive funding and support. So now we do want to hear from all our participants. And what we propose to do is I'll put questions in the chat, and please put your answers in the chat. We'll give you a few minutes. We'd also love to hear from you if you want to, if you feel like your connection is strong enough, or you'd like to unmute and discuss your views. We'd love to hear from you that way too. But these are the questions that we have, and we need to hear your views on them. One is, has anyone out there in the participants has anyone done this already? Have you participated in any kind of a student competition like this? And if so, what is your experience? And then we'd like to ask, what are the values or benefits that you see in organizing this kind of student competition? What challenges or issues do you see? And lastly, we're wondering if this kind of student, sorry for the phone, I don't know if you can hear it or not. If the competition is organized regionally with students from different countries kind of competing against each other, do you see benefits or challenges there? So those are the main issues, and I'll stop share for a moment now. And I think I see Pa has her hand up, but I'll also put the first question in the chat. So if you're more comfortable seeing it in writing, you can now look and see. The first question that we'd like to hear from you about is, has this kind of competition been done already? What other similar competitions exist for students in the region? And organizers, could you unspotlight me so we could see everybody? Because that way I think we may get a better discussion that way. Yeah. If somebody could do that, that would be great. So Pa, your hand is raised. Hi, thanks so much. Let's hear your views. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you, Elena, and thank you to the presenters. I would say it's very inspiring, and I'm very glad that you, as like youngsters in different places, especially in Hong Kong, like see the need. I would say I have a friend working for social justice at the Hong Kong the youth outreach centers. With I would say going forward, it will be good if you can connect up, because I would say by doing the projects that you do right now and then go meet up with them or do some kind of activity or legal support to them will inspire them, because a lot of them some of them are youngsters and about to go to uni, or so this can be something you can be the justice hero in going forward. I would say I've been, since I was a student, I've been attending different types of competitions, some co-competitions, some don't, because I think calling competitions sometimes is great. Like I've been attending the debate competitions in some of the topic related to legals, like the abortions, beauty practices, all these type of activities like debate also help for students, especially law students, to really do more research and what are the informations out there, what are the impact and the positive things. It really shows the student itself to open up more their mind and understand the society and what is happening out there. And also I would say it's not a competitions that but it's similar, because before I attending joining, I was a member of the critical legal program at the Faculty of Law and Political Science at the National University of Laos. I would say at that time, back in 2010, I would say there are more than 300 students apply to join the programs, and it's all there except only 24. I would say that kind of big competition, but it's okay, if you want to be volunteer, you can. So I would say I'm lucky enough to be part of it, but too bad, sorry for the other people who are not able to join the programs out of the 300 students. So I say by joining the programs, I've been trained by the teachers and my senior law students at the programs, and later on I'm able to do different type of activities like community outreach, community teaching street laws, and I'll be able to connect up with the communities and see the reality, and this actually help I have the knowledge, the skill, in I'm able to do public speaking using my legal knowledge, and also the important part is the value. See the need, the challenge that they have. If you're still studying in the uni and not going out there, seeing the community, it's very hard to see those value and get a better understanding of social justice. I would say this is very important for not just not just for the volunteer student, but I would say to all the law students, because after they graduate, wherever they be working in different legal sectors, it's very important for them to have those values and to support the poor and vulnerable out there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Pa. Thank you. I'm just going to hold on a minute. We would love to hear from more participants. I think you've had a minute to see the question. Has anyone else participated in some kind of similar competition? And do you have any any experiences you'd like to share? I'll just wait a minute and see if there's any response to that. And while we're waiting for that, I just posted the next two questions, right, for everybody, because I'm very aware of the time. What value or benefits do you see for this kind of competition? And what challenges or issues do you see? Pa, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, or if anybody else would like to write your thoughts in the chat, please feel free. I'll just wait a minute, see if there are any responses. And while you're thinking, everybody, I'll go back to screen share briefly and tell you my thoughts, although they're not based in someone with the experience of Pa, but hold on a second. Okay, and everybody should be able to see my screen. Okay, so what are some of the values and benefits? Pa, maybe you can listen and tell me if you agree or disagree, because you have a lot of experience. Okay, I think that, and this is of course partially from my perspective teaching in Singapore, and so I'm going to have a certain kind of experience or view, but that's very much why we want to hear from other people. But to share some of my thoughts, students have to distinguish themselves on the job market. That's very important for students to do. And really anything that they can do to distinguish themselves, either participating in or having success in a competition, is something that really helps them. So I think there's kind of selfish reasons why students, or kind of professional reasons why students might want to do this. Also, law school has to cover a lot of ground in different fields. They have to serve corporate and commercial interests. They also have to serve public interest, public law interest. And so they can't really do something tailored for everybody. But the competition is a tailored education and training session. So to those students who are interested, very kind of focused on a particular area. So it's something valuable which most law schools aren't going to be able to do. Also, I think that it really, and Pa, I'm kind of picking up on a point which you raised, which is access to education. The competition would be open to all, and everybody kind of gets support and feedback, whether or not they're ultimately successful. Not just lawyers or students with lawyers in the family, or students whose families are well off and have more opportunities. So I think that's really quite an important aspect of the competition. As I've mentioned, the competition is also energizing and can bring out a very positive, energy. Optimally, I think because I'm a teacher, I'm thinking it's important to have this not be just a competition, but primarily a learning experience. And I think that can be addressed by, how the competition is set up, what the rules are, and what the judging criteria are. But a key benefit, and I heard this come across so clearly from the two students who spoke about their projects, and thank you so much for those great descriptions, is that students see that public interest learning is doable and they can do it. That is essential for public interest lawyers. And if students can see that while they're just in law school, then to my mind, that's one of the most important aspects that this kind of competition can raise. Pa, can I get your feedback? You agree or disagree on those points? What do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Helena. I think I kind of agree, but not 100%. But I would say again, talking about law institute and stuff, like said, we very much would like to push the clinical legal education programs to be into the curriculum, so it's sustainable and also not just the volunteers, a few students able to attend, but everyone can attend. However, there are still competitions within those students who was taking those courses to really step out or step up to that, who really want to engage more, because I would say not all students who attend the course will willing. I would say, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because again, not everyone's have those value. It's not in a bad way, but it takes time for them to really see and realize it. They might not see it now or while they're doing their study in uni. However, by the time they study and graduate, hopefully by attending those courses and able to do their practice, learning by doing community outreach or practice at the in-house consultation clinics that they have, will have them bring out those good heart from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much. Okay. And the third question is, what are the challenges or issues that you see raised in this kind of a competition? And I don't see any responses yet in the chat. Please, everybody, do feel free. We very, very much want to hear from you, even a couple words. The session really is intended to get your views. But I will share just some potential issues that I see in a competition like this. I do see many more positives than issues, but just to raise kind of a couple of potential issues, I'd say if the competition is going to be held in public, in places where public interest lawyering is not that familiar, or perhaps where public interest lawyering is coming under fire from certain sectors or certain interests, then there's going to be work to do, right? To either create familiarity with what the work is, or to reassure students that it's a workable venue. I think there also may be different levels of abilities and language and expression. And the next question will really get at that. But I do think that all of those things are manageable if there are feedback sessions for students who give them the feedback that they need. And also if we have sufficiently responsive or flexible evaluation criteria. This is, again, something that professors know about. So this can be done. This can be addressed, I think, pretty effectively. And then also there's always a question of sustainability with any kind of challenge. It's a challenge in any kind of community work. Competition would not be unique. But I think with all the interest and the benefits that would come to students, I don't really see that as a big drawback either. Okay, so I'm going to stop share there. And let's see. Okay, Pa, you have your hand up as well. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, oops. I was just gonna say that to all the participants here, you can type in Laos in the chat box, and then the secretariat will translate your answer or questions for you. So feel free to add in. Maybe I just add in a little bit. Another things that in the past year or two that we are PepsiCo is working with the our partners, the Faculty of Law and Political Science and Faculty of Law and Administrative, Champasak Universities, has this call for students who would like to submit the ideas doing the different trials related to legal aid, gender-based violence, drugs, and like a few LGBTs topics for and submit. So the students who got awarded will get able to attend the Asia Pro Bono conference to further their more on their knowledge and skill by attending the Asia Pro Bono conference in the past year. Yeah, I would say this is also another thing that has been implemented within Laos. And I think it's very useful that, and the student, I'm sure at least, no, there might not be all who are 100%, but at least a few who attend is good enough as a start, because it's shifting from working physically, seeing each other's, and then when COVID hit, everyone was in different places, and we have the different law institute working together virtually and making those posters, those pamphlets, flyers, I would say.
Yeah, thanks for that, Pa. And I think also you raise a good point, which is we don't need enormous numbers of students signing up and the first year or the second year. We really just have to make a good quality program which supports public interest lawing and law students. Everybody, there is a fourth question, our last question that we're going to ask, and then we'll go to Julia for her comment. And the last question we'd like to ask is, if we do a competition like this with students from different places, right, with different levels of English or different educational backgrounds, is that going to be a good thing or not a good thing? In what ways might that be, quite a benefit, or in what issues or what challenges does that raise? Julia, over to you. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you.
Sorry, something wrong with my headphones. Anyways, no, what I just wanted to add is, in connection to just what has been said, is that in the past, we also brought some of our student teams to attend our global forum. So the last time it was held in Singapore, and we also had some of our student participants there as well. And I think that's generally also like a really fruitful and rich experience for them as well, because quite often I think many of them, working at the national level, right, so not really aware of perhaps what's happening outside of their country, and we have gotten really good feedback from our students as well. So I think as we're looking to do more things at regional level, I think tapping into opportunities like the Asia Pro Bono conference, the PILNet Global Forum, and maybe other thematic events is also good to see how we can link students to some of those existing initiatives. Yeah, I think that's just all what I wanted to add. See if the participants have any more feedback or comments.
Yeah, and thanks, Julian. And I would really agree with that. Our experience in Singapore, when we have attended with students the Asia Pro Bono conference, I think that's been a real eye-opener. Because the students realize how many of their counterparts are in different countries doing very similar things. And I think it's enriching, it's kind of educational, but also there's a real personal satisfaction in knowing that you're not the only one. Okay. And I think we're out of time, but if anybody has any last comments, there's a phrase, there's a comment from the Secretariat. Pa, I don't know if you can translate. Maybe that's somebody telling us that time is out. I don't know, but we do.
No,
yeah,
it's just translations, your questions.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Okay,
wait.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe I can just share the challenge a little bit that
Yes.
we found. I would say it's about opening up and accept and don't assume that the student not able to do, even is virtual. I would say this is not in a bad way, but again, it's very new in Lao that the first time we asked to work with the partners and okay, we think we should do something because the student cannot go out to the communities physically doing outreach, community teaching. So that shift from physical to online, and also the competition that we just talked about, doing the flyers, posters related to legal informations for legal aid, gender-based violence, and such. So when we come up with this kind of idea, I would say some of our partners think that that might not be possible, but we said let's try, and even though that we don't know how well can it be, but let's try, let's see it out. I just call it out, and if the students step up and would like to join, and that we can see what their level are and how can we support them. Don't assume that they can't. Just try, I will say.
Thanks so much. Those are very encouraging words. Thank you. Okay. I think at this point we are kind of well and truly out of time. We're actually a little over time. So thanks very much to everybody for your thoughts, and Pai, you're a justice hero. Thanks for all the feedback. You're very experienced, and that's really helpful to this proposal. So thanks very much, everybody, and to all the speakers. And now I'll hand over back to Annie. Thanks.
Thank you, Helena. I'm sorry we didn't have too much time for the discussion. So I'll just leave my email address in the chat. If you guys are interested in further discussions about holding a regional competition, please feel free to get in touch. So thanks again, everybody, for attending the session. Thank you, Helena, thank you, Angel and Jamie is still here. Thank you, and thanks, Isabel. Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good evening. I think in our time zone. Okay, see you. Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great to see you, Pa.
Thank you all. Great to see you too. Hope to see you soon physically.
Okay, yeah, same here. Bye, everybody. Bye.